The difference between oil and water is that oil is a scarce commodity. We welcome viewers to this episode. We're still going to continue with our tabloid. Yes, of February 3 to 5, 2003. In our last video, we stopped at page 9, and the story was some mistakes Christian singles make in marriage. Today, we're going to the next page, page 10. And like I promised, the first story is Weep Not by one Martin Alco Abed. It's a spiritual story. Let's start. A scene in the heavenly realm was revealed to St. John on the island of Patmos. God wanted someone to be sent to the world to open the eyes and minds of people to the good news, but no one was worthy. John wept bitterly because there was no one on earth or in heaven to open the scroll. Revelation 5, 1 to 7. Paragraph. As John was wondering about the misery of the earth, an elder in heaven came to console him. He told John that there was a lamb from the Lion of Judah. There was a lamb from the Lion of Judah who was worthy to do the work. When John heard that, he stopped weeping and rejoiced. Jesus provided a way out for the world. Is there a situation in your life that seems insurmountable? Question mark. What is it? Question mark. I do not think it is as difficult as getting somebody to open the scroll. Jesus did it and was given power over heaven, the earth, and over the living and the dead. Matthew 24:18. He will come to your aid. That's Jesus. He will come to your aid. He did it for Mary and Martha, the adulterous woman. For Mary and Martha, the adulterous woman, Jairus' daughter, and Job. Do you remember the number of times Daniel experienced adversity? Question. The Lord was always there. He carries all those, He carries all those who acknowledge and respect him as Lord. Situations may not be ideal now. Situations may not be ideal now, but the Lord has you in mind. He will give you your heart's desire, so people will see you and wonder. He will raise you from grass to grace and wipe all tears from your eyes. Did the prophet Isaiah not prophesy? Did the prophet Isaiah not prophesy it? The Lord will bless you with good tidings. You will tend to forget the hardships of yesterday, as you will term it. In the Bible, people who called upon the Lord were never disappointed, so he will answer you in time of trouble. You will not be disappointed either. Stop weeping over your problems. and be in tune with God's promises. He may fulfill it. He may fulfill it in a manner that will surprise you, the way you hardly expect it to be. Full stop. Queen Esther became Israel's savior through a beauty contest, and the family of a prostitute in Jericho saved her people. The Lord is ready to receive your burdens and set you free. Be free from demonic powers, poverty, barrenness, failures. Full stop. The word says, stop weeping. That inspirational piece was by Martin Akko Abed. Ah, there is this long story from campus life. Maybe if it isn't even finished, it's to be continued. Okay, I think this is a saying. Let's go there first. The only thing that makes it possible to regard this world we live in without disgust is the beauty which now and then men create out of the chaos. The pictures they paint, the music they compose, the books they write, and the lives they lead. Full stop. Of all this, the richest in beauty is a life well lived. That is the perfect work of art. Name W. Somest Morgan. W. Somest Morgan. W. Somest Morgan. Uh, okay, let's leave away divine intervention first. It's very long and it's in two parts. The first part alone is so long. Campus life. Now we will go to the side stories. That's Daddy. And then my deepest mistake. Okay, let's start with Daddy. I was 14 years old when I gained admission to a senior secondary school. I excelled in my BECE, Basic Education, BSc as in Basic Education Certificate exam or something like that. I excelled in my BECE because I was a very good student. My mother, a poor petty trader who could hardly get us a balanced meal, struggled to pay my entry fees to the secondary school. I arrived at the school with only the barest necessities. Only the barest necessities. I needed not, sorry, only the barest necessity I needed for my survival. The only things my mother was able to buy for me were a few cups of gari. Gari is preservable food substance made from cassava. Mhm. Buy for me were a few cups of gari, very little sugar, and soup. She could only afford to give me 5,000 cedis for my pocket money because believe you me. Let me repeat that. She could only afford to give me 5,000 cedis for my pocket money. Believe you me. Classes started in earnest, and I did my best to keep up with my studies, and had excellent grades in the first and second terms. Then disaster struck when I went home on vacation. My mother fell sick, and I had to take up menial jobs to be able to for her medication. Pay for her medication. Her health deteriorated rapidly, and she had to be admitted to the hospital. The doctor asked for a whooping amount of 2 million cedis to enable him to perform a surgery to save her life. There was no way I could raise that amount of money, and unfortunately, a few days later, my poor mother passed away. Paragraph. I returned to school with the little money my auntie could give me, could give me, and life, I must say, was hell. I played hide and seek with the headmaster since I had not paid my fees, and he was always after me. One Saturday, a visiting day, my friend Amma rushed rushed into the dormitory and happily announced that her father had had her father had been residing in the United Kingdom for over 19 years and had finally returned. He asked me to accompany her to meet him since she wanted to introduce me to him as her best friend. My life turned around after I met Mr. Forson, Ama's father. He decided to adopt me when he heard of my plight. He started providing my needs and gave me a father's love. This made me think of my real father, whom I had never met. My mother told me that my father abandoned us after I was born. Oh. Mr. Forson decided to go and see my auntie to seek permission for me to spend the holidays with him and Amma. Full stop. My auntie received him warmly, but kept saying that he looked familiar. Oh, oh God. But kept saying that he looked familiar. He also felt he had seen my auntie before, but couldn't remember where exactly. Mami Ekuya, my auntie, dashed into her room and came back holding a photograph. She compared the person in the picture with Mr. Forson and exclaimed, "Oh my God, so it's you, Kojo Forson. After all these years, you've returned. Do you remember you had a baby by my sister, Akosua?" Oh, Mr. Forson looked confused for a moment, and realized who I really was later. So that Mr. Forson realized who this boy was later. My auntie told him, my auntie told him bluntly, "This is the daughter you abandoned." Oh, this is the daughter you abandoned, whom your biological daughter Amma has taken as a friend. Apparently, they are not friends, but sisters. Okay, let's go. Where is abandoned? This is the daughter you abandoned. After the initial shock, he asked for my forgiveness. He said he was forced to abandon me because he was young when he made my mother pregnant and was asked by the parents to choose between the unborn child and his education. He opted for the latter because he couldn't cater for a baby by then when his parents were still providing everything for him. Presently, I'm living with my father, Mr. Forson. I forgive him for the pain he had caused my mother and me. For the pain he has caused my mother and me. Amma and I now living together with our father as sisters. Of course, I said they are sisters. It took a while to get used to him, but now I call him Daddy. A very interesting story, isn't it? Now she calls him Daddy, and indeed, he is the daddy. Okay, next story. My deepest regret, the great mistake. It is always said that the evil that men do lives after them. My life is now ruined. I don't know what to do. I can blame no one but myself. Committing suicide has always been on my mind, but I cannot muster enough courage to go that far. Paragraph. It happened that I was posted to a small village called Afochudipo, Afotudekope for my national service. The assemblyman in that area accompanied me and gave me a kindly treatment. This was to make me stay and help the village, which, which lacked teachers. Full stop. I was highly honored. Full stop. Soon I joined the Presbyterian Church and was anointed and was appointed leader. Paragraph. One evening on my way to evening prayers, I met Eunice, who narrated a dozen of problems to me. We agreed to pray about it. As planned, I waited for her to come one evening so we would put our pet- petitions before God. But she turned up later. We agreed to pray in my room since I was late and the weather was and the weather was threatening. I don't know where this letter is going to. Eh? The name is not there. I sold to Richard Amechichi. I sold to Richard Amechichi. So let's go. The way the story is going, let's see. Let's go to the weather. Uh-huh. And the weather was threatening. Before the prayers ordered, it started. Before the prayers ended, it started raining heavily. I had no option but to accommodate her since I had neither an umbrella nor a raincoat. That's kaya. It kept raining even though we expected that it would subside for a while. It would subside for a while so Eunice could get home. I can't describe what happened, but I remember we had an affair. I knew that's where he was going to. I knew it. When he said the weather was threatening, I knew where he's going to. Hmm? So before the drive, they had an affair. We had an affair. After some days, she mentioned that she was pregnant. And not too pleased about this, I abandoned the village and went to Nigeria where I studied theology. Look at that. How can you abandon a pregnant woman and go and study matters concerning God? Hmm? Okay, and studied uh, theology. I had a lady I intended marrying because I knew that if after my studies I didn't have any fiancé, I wouldn't be ordained as a pastor, for it was necessary to have a better half before one is ordained. After 10 years, I planned marrying Benis, my fiancée, before the ordination. After 10 years, I planned marrying Benis, my fiancée, before the ordination. The auditorium was full on our wedding day. It was a joyous occasion until the incredible happened. A few minutes to the time to exchange vows, Eunice appeared from nowhere, walked to the stage, and halted all proceedings. Kai. Okay. Who informed her? Well, let's see. Who informed her? I don't know. Okay. And halted all proceedings. My fiancée, who couldn't stand the shame, collapsed as Eunice told her story. Oh, Benis, I couldn't tie the knot. Thanks to my awful abandonment of Eunice in the past. Full stop. My friends and even my family have abandoned me. The church has lost confidence in me, and I'm beginning to hate myself. My only hope is that Christ will forgive me and give me another chance. Then he asked, possible? He asked, is it possible? Of course, that's what I say. How can you abandon a pregnant woman and go and study theology? Hmm? It is God Himself who has exposed you. Yeah, man like you. Where is Alaju Kokode? Hmm? Anyway, it's possible. I would say possible. Hmm? Your last sentence, which is one word, possible, Christ. My only hope is that Christ will forgive me and give me another chance. Possible? I say yes, possible. You've already been disgraced. You won't be disgraced twice. Uh, let's see. If there is no short story, we'll now go to campus life. Okay. PMP, this is all about sports. In Ghana, is Ghana ready for the World Cup in all sports? Another music awards is here. Okay. The other pages are about sports. This is the back page. It's about sports. The page before is also about sports. Likewise, this one. I believe color separation. Oh, not sports, but maybe adverts. So we can go to the campus life and see what is there for us. Um, okay, Divine Intervention Part 1 by Ernest Mabel. God really, God really works in mysterious ways. Had it not been His divine intervention, I do not know what my fate would have been today. I'm an elderly. I am an only son in a family of 5 girls. Being well perched among many girls as the last born, I lacked nothing, did no house chores, went out and came back anytime I liked. And most important of all, my parents adored me, especially my mother. Everybody got sad if my head aches. My sisters also formed part of this idol worship, except Elon, my older sister. She was the only person who didn't like the kind of treatment I was always given. She thought they were overdoing things, but my parents and I felt she was jealous. At school, I had everything you could think of. I felt so free around campus, as if the school was an extension of my father's house. At the time, my father had retired from civil service and set up his personal business. This earned him lots of cedis. So disturbed was my housemaster that he went for my father and cautioned that I had too much of everything, especially freedom. That's a good teacher. Especially freedom, money, and friends. With a stern look, my father told off my housemaster right there in the corridor leading to the staff room. In the corridor leading to the staff room. Even within even within the earshot of some students, even within the earshot of some students, full stop. These students who heard my father briefed me on the case, and these students who heard my father briefed me on the case. When he stormed out of the school building into his car, my housemaster shook his head, wiped his brow, and turned to enter his office when he saw me and asked me to come. Definitely, I refused his call. I refused his call, put my hands in my pocket, and strolled away towards my class to the utter admiration of my friends. Determined to make his point, he followed me to my class in SS2C. Selassie, your father is not helping you. That's a good teacher. Very good teacher. He said, Selassie, your father is not helping you. He yelled at me before my classmates. His is only re- oh, his is only ruining your chance of a better future. I think it should be he is. He is only ruining, but he say his. Okay, he's only ruining, let me correct it. He's only ruining your chance of a better future. Being the only son doesn't warrant your going through as if you were as if you were a heaven baby who cannot be corrected or disciplined. If you don't change from these ways of yours, you may have a pitiful future. Oh, this good prediction. Mm. And I believe it's going to come true. Uh, let's read on. Uh, pitiful future. You're going to have a pitiful future. After this, he left our classroom. For a few days, I was sober. I tried to reflect on my attitude in general. Paragraph. Just as I was about to get totally reformed by this thought-provoking encounter with my housemaster, my father sent the driver to me on campus with lots of provisions and a note which read, Ignore your, oh, what sort of father? Which read, Ignore your housemaster. After all, it is my responsibility to provide for my son to provide for my son an enabling environment in order that he can do well with his studies. Look at that. Father Banza. Where is Elijah Kokode? Father Banza. Okay. With this message, I bounced back to my road of destruction. The partying continued this. The partying continued this till we had our final exams. Out of the 68 candidates our school presented for the examination, only two flats. One boy, one boy was not mentally all right, and my good self. Of course. The housemaster's prediction is starting to bear fruit. Hmm? One boy who was mentally, who was not mentally all right, and my good self. Yes. For the first time, my father raised his voice about my poor performance. My sister came out with flying colors with 5 A's. And for the first time, my father praised her and compared her performance to my failure. My father was really mad at me. My mother once again sprang to my defense. How are we sure it is not connected to that housemaster and his petty jealousies? How can the headmaster prevent him from passing exams? Okay. My father dismissed that with a wave of the hand. The holiday was horrible. I persuaded my parents to send me to another secondary school where I promised to turn over a new leaf. This time, I went to a mixed school. On how I wish I were in my former school. Sorry, this time I went to a mixed school. Oh, how I wish I were in my former school. That's, he wished he were in the boys' school. In this new school, there came a fresh temptation in my life. Of course, girls, 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 girls everywhere. As a mark of discipline, my father reduced my my father reduced my half-term allowance by 50%, and the provisions did not and the provisions didn't look like would suffice till till even the midterm. This, he patiently explained to me, was a help, was to help was to help me concentrate on my studies and not whose son I was again. And not whose sons I was. Full stop. Again, I cried to my mother. Again, cried to my mother. A week after school, he reopened the driver. A week after sorry, a week after school reopened, the driver arrived with money and more provisions from my mother. Full stop. Happiness was all mine. In my former school, I had a group of friends who sneaked out of the school with me, but in this new school, I now had girls with whom I went to town after lights out to have fun. Spoiled child. I changed girls like nobody's business. After all, I had the money to spend. But somehow, the well respected girls never fell for my charms. Many called me by my nickname, Sir Galahad. Sir Galahad. But these good girls called me by my real name. Not long, I got attracted to a girl named Kafi. Not long, I got attracted to a girl named Kafi. She was tall, beautiful, very intelligent. Somehow, whenever I was around, she didn't give me a look as if I never existed. That really was a challenge. I decided to correct myself in order to win her heart. With this, I changed my way of doing things. My friends teased and wondered why. Since I was determined to make an impact on my newly found lover to be, full stop. I wasn't bothered about the names my friends called me. Surprisingly, I started improving academically. My parents were so surprised. The miracle continued as most of the well-behaved girls on campus started paying attention to me. Cafe started noticing me, and we became friends. We both became steady mates, as the two of us soon became leaders in class academically. The two of us turned inseparable, such that some male friends started envying me. Kafi, who was a staunch Christian, tried to win my heart for Christ since she realized I was not sound in Christianity, though I claimed to be a Christian. Although in my heart I did I did not actually plan to, to repent from my bad ways. Although in my heart I did not actually plan to repent of my bad ways, I gave in to Kafe's persuasion in order to win her heart. The relationship became so close that I decided to drop the bombshell one day by proposing love to her. It was during preps when I called Cafe aside and decided to make my feelings known to her. I had proposed many times to many girls, but no, but to propose to Cafe was difficult for me. She was a graceful dame. Perhaps that brought in my fear. I also I was also afraid of her reaction. Maybe she'll be angry. All the same, I tried doing something. Coffee. I mentioned her name. Ju, 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 ju. It was somewhere. I, ju, 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 ju. I mean, I just want to tell you that I at at this point, Coffee cut in and asked, rather surprised, Selassie, since when did you become a star? Oh my God. Is that coffee? Since when did you become a stammer? Just go ahead and say whatever you have to say. Full stop. In order not to look like a chicken-hearted guy in front of cafe, I decided to drop the bombshell, no matter what it may cost me. To be continued. Oh, boys have suffered for girls. Hmm? And look now, girls are committing suicide because of boys. Hmm? A boy rejects a girl and she commits suicide. It's happening here in Ghana. In those days, it was not like that. And even this was as late as 2003. What about in the 90s? Hmm? So Selassie will continue. Selassie's story will be continued in a letter paper. I hope it will be the next paper, and I hope I have it. If I don't, that will be pitiable. But let's end here. Next week, oh sorry, in our next episode, we'll see whether. No, no, yeah, yeah, next episode because this is the last story. In our next episode, we'll see whether Selassie's story will be there. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Ilan Likai.